The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber swung open with a low hum. Gregory Winters straightened his formal diplomatic uniform and took a deep breath. Behind him stood Earth's first contact team, 12 humans chosen to represent their entire species to the stars. As Earth's ambassador, Gregory felt the weight of 7 billion lives on his shoulders. "Remember," he whispered to his team, "we are equals here, no matter what we see or hear." Dr. Elaine Murphy nodded beside him. As the team's lead scientist, she had spent 3 months studying the limited information the Council had shared about member species. Her eyes were alert, missing nothing. The Council chamber stretched before them, a vast circular room filled with representatives from 32 different species. Curved rows of seating rose in tiers around a central speaking platform. Light filtered through crystal panels in the domed ceiling, creating patterns across the polished floor. A tall, thin being with pale blue skin and 4 arms approached them. "The humans will now be presented to the High Council," it announced in perfect English. "You will bow when introduced to each council elder." Gregory smiled politely. "Thank you for the suggestion, but humans bow only to our own leaders by choice. We will show respect in our way." The blue being's eyes widened slightly. "This is not a suggestion. This is protocol." "We have our own protocols," Gregory replied. "We mean no disrespect, but we stand as equals or not at all." The council chamber grew quiet as the exchange was projected throughout the room. Gregory could see some representatives leaning forward with interest. Others seemed shocked or offended. From the highest tier, a voice boomed across the chamber. "Let them approach as they wish. We are curious about these newcomers." The speaker was a Vorsian, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. With skin like weathered stone and eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom, the Vorsian High Counselor Drez motioned them forward. As the human delegation walked toward the center of the chamber, Dr. Murphy whispered to Gregory, "Notice the seating arrangement. The higher species sit literally above the others. Power structure is physical as well as political." Gregory nodded slightly. He had noticed other things too. The way certain species kept their eyes downcast, how others seemed to flinch when the Vorsians moved. This was not the coalition of equals they had hoped for. "Humans of Earth?" Counselor Drez's voice echoed through the chamber. "You stand before the Galactic Council, the united government of all civilized space. For 8,000 years, we have maintained peace and order among the stars. Now you seek to join our ranks. We seek friendship and knowledge." "Exchange," Gregory corrected gently. "Earth is interested in peaceful relations with all species." A rumble of conversation spread through the chamber. Gregory realized he had just broken another unspoken rule, interrupting a high counselor. "Friendship is earned through obedience." "To natural order," said another elder, a reptilian being with golden scales. "Humanity is young. You have much to learn before you can claim equal status." Dr. Murphy stepped forward. "With respect, age alone does not determine wisdom. We have observed your star charts and resource allocation patterns. There seem to be significant imbalances in how planetary resources are distributed among Council members." The human team had reviewed the data shared during first contact preparations. The numbers showed clear patterns of exploitation. Resource-rich worlds of newer council members stripped to support the homeworlds of the founding species. The chamber grew tense. Gregory could see anger in some faces, fear in others, and, most interestingly, hope in the eyes of representatives from the newest council members. "You misunderstand complex economic necessities," said Counselor Drez dismissively. "This is why young species require guidance. You see only small pieces of a greater picture." Gregory maintained his diplomatic smile. "Then perhaps you could explain why what you call protectorate species contribute 80% of raw materials, but receive only 10% of finished technologies." The council elders exchanged glances. They had not expected humans to analyze the data so thoroughly or question their systems so directly. A slender being with feathered skin stood from the middle tiers. "The humans raise valid questions that many of us have asked in private chambers for centuries," "Sit down, Representative Kale," snapped the reptilian elder. "Earth is not recognized to raise council policy matters." Gregory watched the interaction carefully. Cracks in the council's united front were becoming visible. This was valuable information. Councillor Drez raised a hand for silence. "Humans, clearly, need time to adjust their expectations. We have prepared the Standard Integration Treaty for your species. Once signed, Earth will become a protected world under Council authority. You will receive technology and defense upgrades over the next century, in exchange for reasonable resource contributions." An aide brought forward a data tablet displaying the treaty. As Gregory and Dr. Murphy reviewed it, their expressions remained neutral, but their concern grew. The document would effectively reduce Earth to a mining colony with little self-governance. "We thank the Council for this offer," Gregory said carefully. "However, such an important decision requires thorough review by our full government. We request time to develop a counter-proposal that better reflects mutual benefit." Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. No new species had ever negotiated terms before. "You reject Council protection?" Councillor Drez seemed genuinely confused. "This is the same agreement all civilized worlds accept." "We do not reject friendship," Gregory clarified. "We simply believe true alliances benefit all parties equally." The human delegation retreated to a private chamber to discuss the situation. For hours, they analyzed the treaty and council dynamics. "They're not used to being questioned," Dr. Murphy observed. "Did you see how the junior species reacted when you challenged the resource distribution?" Gregory nodded. Several looked ready to cheer. "I think we're not the first to see problems with their system, just the first to speak openly." When they returned to the council chamber, Gregory delivered their decision. "Earth respectfully declines this treaty in its current form. We request 6 Earth months to develop an alternative proposal for mutual cooperation." The council erupted in disbelief. Councillor Drez finally restored order. "Such stubbornness is unfortunate but not unexpected from an adolescent species. You have your 6 months, humans. Use them to reconsider your foolish stance." As the Earth delegation departed, a young council aide slipped a data chip to Dr. Murphy. "Not all of us believe in the old ways," she whispered. "Many watch your people with hope." Back aboard their ship, Gregory looked out at the stars. "What do you think they'll do when we don't simply cave in to their demands?" Dr. Murphy studied the secret data chip. "Something tells me they've never faced this situation before, and that might be exactly why we need to stand our ground." The ship's engines hummed to life as they set course for Earth, carrying news that would forever change humanity's place in the cosmos. 5 months had passed since Earth's delegation returned from their meeting with the Galactic Council. To outside observers, Earth seemed quiet. Too quiet. The Council's monitoring stations reported minimal interstellar communications. Their spies noted only routine space traffic around Earth's solar system. Reports to the High Council suggested humans were likely arguing among themselves or struggling to accept the reality of their place in the galactic order. "They will come to their senses," Councillor Drez told the Assembly. "All young species rebel briefly before accepting guidance." How wrong they were. Inside Earth's solar system, humanity had united like never before. The revelation of an older, dismissive galactic civilization had erased old national rivalries overnight. Resources once spent on fighting each other were now directed toward a single goal: ensuring human independence. Lieutenant Commander Frank Walters stood on the observation deck of Earth's newest vessel, the Northern Star. 5 months ago, it had been a half-built science vessel. Now it was something else entirely. "System check complete," reported his second-in-command. "Shields are operating at 115% of projected capacity." Frank nodded. "And they still can't detect us?" "No, sir. The new cloaking system bends light and sensor readings just as Dr. Murphy predicted. According to Council scanning methods, we're just background radiation." Frank allowed himself a small smile. When they'd first seen Council military technology, they'd been intimidated. But after careful study, Earth's scientists had made a surprising discovery. Beneath the impressive display, Council weapons and defense systems had barely advanced in centuries. They got comfortable, Dr. Olivia Santos had explained during a briefing. She led Earth's Xenobiology Division now. Species that accept the Council's protection stop innovating. They're given technology but not the understanding to improve. Frank's ship was one of 30 now hidden throughout the solar system. Each incorporated new technologies that Earth scientists had developed by studying the limited samples exchanged during first contact. In a secure underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Professor Alan Blackwell monitored communications across Council space. His team had cracked Council encryption within weeks. It's all built on the same foundation, he explained to visiting officials. They haven't faced a serious challenge in thousands of years, so they never updated their security protocols. The professor pointed to a display showing message traffic among Council ships. They think we're just sitting here worrying. Meanwhile, we're listening to everything they say. Across Earth, manufacturing centers worked around the clock. New alloys, better computers, advanced propulsion systems. Humanity had always been at its most creative when challenged. In orbit around Jupiter, Captain Diana Foster supervised the transformation of what had been Earth's exploration fleet. Mining ships now extracted resources from the gas giant's many moons, materials that were immediately used for construction. We always thought first contact would bring new knowledge, she told her crew. Instead, it brought a warning, but sometimes a warning is more valuable than a gift. The Council's treaty had shown humans exactly what they needed to avoid, becoming dependent, controlled clients of the galactic powers. Now they worked to ensure that would never happen. No one on Earth expected what happened next. A Council scout ship, faster and more advanced than any previously detected, slipped into the solar system. Its mission was simple: assess Earth's military readiness and report back. The Council was growing impatient with human silence and wanted updated intelligence. The scout expected to map primitive defenses. Instead, its sensors detected energy, signatures unlike anything in Council records. When it tried to approach Earth for closer scans, it found itself suddenly surrounded by 5 vessels that seemed to appear from nowhere. Council vessel. Frank Walter's voice came through clearly on their communication system. You have entered Earth space without authorization. Please state your purpose. The Council pilot was shocked. Humans shouldn't have been able to detect his ship, let alone surround it with vessels the scout systems couldn't identify. This is a standard patrol, the pilot replied, trying to sound authoritative. The Council monitors all protected sectors. Earth is not a protected sector, Frank replied calmly. We are an independent system that has not signed any treaties. We will escort you to the system boundary. The Council ship found itself firmly guided back toward deep space. Its attempts to scan the human vessels failed. Their composition and technology were unlike anything in Council databases. Impossible, the pilot whispered, recording everything. These were not the same humans the Council had dismissed months ago. Something fundamental had changed. When the scout returned to Council space, its report caused alarm at the highest levels. Emergency sessions were called. Analysts argued over the data. How could they advance so quickly? Demanded the reptilian elder. No species develops this way without outside help. Counselor Drez studied the reports with growing concern. They have had no contact with any galactic powers. Our monitoring confirms this. Whatever they have achieved, they did it alone. This was unprecedented. Client species were expected to develop slowly, under careful supervision. Independent development was discouraged. Rapid advancement like this was disturbing. We cannot allow this to continue, decided the Council after days of debate. Humans must be brought under control before they destabilize the established order. Back on Earth, Ambassador Gregory Winters received notice of the Council's reaction through channels Professor Blackwell's team monitored. They're going to try to force our hand, he informed Earth's Unified Leadership Council. The question is how. Dr. Murphy, who had continued analyzing Council psychology, offered her assessment. They'll start with a show of force. Their entire system is built on intimidation and perceived superiority. When species join the Council, it's always from a position of weakness. The Leadership Council nodded in understanding. For 5 months they had prepared for this moment. Are we ready? Asked the Council chair. One by one, the section leaders reported their status. Frank Walters. Fleet is operational and positioned. Olivia Santos. Medical and biological countermeasures in place. Alan Blackwell. Communications secure and monitoring established. Diana Foster. Defensive grid active around all major population centers. Gregory Winters looked at his colleagues. 5 months ago they had been strangers from different nations. Now they were humanity's unified response to an unwelcome future. Then we continue as planned, Gregory concluded. When the Council makes its move, we will be ready with ours. Beyond Earth's atmosphere, hidden satellites detected a fleet of Council vessels forming at the edge of Council space. The countdown to confrontation had begun. Humanity would not bow. And soon the Galactic Council would learn exactly what that meant. The Grand Council chamber had never been so full. Representatives from all 32 member species crowded the tiered seats. Even species that usually sent junior diplomats had their senior leaders present. News had spread quickly across Council. Space. The humans had done something unexpected. Councillor Drez stood at the central platform, his ancient eyes surveying the gathered assembly. Behind him the other elders looked grim. This emergency session will come to order, Drez announced. The matter before us concerns Earth and its concerning development. Detailed images appeared on the massive screens surrounding the chamber. They showed the Council scout ship being intercepted by vessels of unknown design. As you can see, continued Drez, humans have developed technologies that should be beyond their capabilities. Without guidance, without permission. A murmur ran through the chamber. Many representatives looked shocked. Others seemed oddly pleased. More troubling, said the reptilian elder, is that they have hidden these developments from Council observers. Such deception cannot be tolerated. From his seat among the mid-tier species, a representative from the Novan civilization raised a hand. Perhaps they developed in secret because their first experience with us was being offered status as a resource colony rather than a true ally. The comment brought uncomfortable silence. It was rare for anyone to question Council decisions so openly. Grand Admiral Ze of the Kaltorian Empire rose from his privileged position near the elders. His purple skin gleamed under the chamber lights, ceremonial armor clicking as he moved. The Council has maintained peace for 8,000 years through order and hierarchy, he said, voice rumbling through the chamber. Earth's actions threaten that stability. They must be shown the consequences of rejecting Council wisdom. The vote that followed was quick. The Council would deliver an ultimatum to Earth: accept protectorate status immediately, or face military pacification. Within hours, a transmission was sent to Earth. The message was received by Earth's Unified Command Center, where Gregory Winters watched alongside the Leadership Council. Councillor Drez's image filled the screen. People of Earth, your recent actions have demonstrated dangerous independence. For the safety of all galactic citizens, you must accept Council authority immediately. A protection fleet has been dispatched to ensure your compliance. You have 48 hours to accept our terms. The message ended. No one in the command center spoke for several moments. Well, Gregory finally said, at least they're being honest about their intentions now. General Sofia Rodriguez, who had united Earth's formerly separate military forces, stood up. Should I prepare our response? Gregory nodded. Keep it simple. Respectful but firm. The general composed a brief message. We respectfully decline your terms. We seek neither conflict nor subservience. After the message was sent, Earth went silent. All communications with Council space ceased. Monitoring stations reported that human ships had withdrawn from their previous positions. Energy readings throughout the solar system fluctuated in patterns that made no sense to Council observers. In the Council chamber, analysts reported the developments with concern. They appear to be preparing some form of defense, one analyst explained. But our sensors cannot determine what exactly they're doing. Grand Admiral Ze seemed unconcerned. It doesn't matter. Their technology, while surprisingly advanced, cannot match the combined might of the Council fleet. Not everyone was so confident. 3 of the newer Council species had secretly sent private communications to Earth. They had lived under Council domination for centuries and saw in humanity a potential ally or liberator. The Novans, the Torellians, and the Whisper Collective all reached out through channels the Council didn't monitor. "We have watched your stand with great interest," the Novan message said. "Many of us wish to be free of Council control. If you have found a way, we would stand with you." In Earth's command center, Gregory Winters and Dr. Murphy considered these messages carefully. "We can't fight a war against the entire Council," one advisor warned. "Perhaps we don't need to," Gregory replied. "Ambassador Chen, please prepare our counterproposal. It's time to show the galaxy another path." When Earth's response came, it wasn't what the Council expected. Rather than preparations for defense or signs of surrender, Ambassador Winters returned to Council space with a delegation. They requested an emergency session to present an alternative to conflict. The Council granted this request, confident it was a sign of human weakness. Gregory Winters stood before the assembled Council, his team beside him. Dr. Murphy watched the representatives carefully, noting which species seemed sympathetic to Earth's position. "Honorable Council," Gregory began, "we have reviewed your ultimatum and have a counter-proposal." He activated a holographic display showing a new organizational structure, one where power was distributed equally, resources shared fairly, and all species had representation in decision-making. "We propose the formation of a true galactic partnership," Gregory explained. "One based on equality rather than hierarchy. One where advancement is encouraged rather than controlled." The Council elders laughed openly. "This is naive idealism," Councillor Drez said dismissively. "Galactic civilization requires order, and order requires hierarchy. Your proposal would create chaos." "We disagree," Gregory replied calmly. "And we believe many of your member species would also disagree if given the choice." The statement hung in the air like a challenge. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "You have no leverage for such demands," Grand Admiral Ze declared. "The protection fleet will reach Earth in 12 hours. This discussion is pointless." Gregory nodded slowly. "We understand your position, but know that humanity's choice has already been made. We will not surrender our independence." As the Earth delegation departed, whispers spread through the Council chamber. Some representatives hurried to communicate with their homeworlds. Others watched the humans with new respect. Back on the Council elders' private chamber, Drez paced nervously. "They show no fear," he said. "Why do they show no fear?" "Because they are young and foolish," the reptilian elder replied. "They do not understand the power they face." Grand Admiral Ze was less certain. His military experience made him wary of opponents who seemed too confident. "Double the fleet strength," he ordered his subordinates, "and approach with caution. Something is not right." As the massive Council fleet approached Earth's solar system, they prepared for either a desperate battle or quick surrender. They were not prepared for what actually awaited them. The 48-hour deadline was about to expire. Throughout Earth's cities, a plan years in the making had entered its final phase, and the Council was about to learn that threatening humans was the worst mistake they could have made. Grand Admiral Ze stood on the command deck of the Inevitable Dominance, flagship of the Council's pacification fleet. Through the massive viewport, Earth shone like a blue jewel against the darkness of space. His fleet of 500 warships had arrived at the edge of the solar system expecting resistance. Instead, they found nothing. "Status report," Ze demanded. "No defensive formations detected, Admiral," reported his sensor officer. "Our scans show normal activity on the planet's surface. Cities appear to be functioning normally." Ze frowned. This wasn't right. The humans had developed advanced technology. They had rejected the Council's demands. They should be mounting some kind of defense. "Approach with caution," he ordered. "Maximum shields, weapons ready." The massive fleet moved slowly toward Earth, scanners alert for any sign of ambush. As they passed the orbit of Mars, long-range sensors detected unusual energy readings from Earth's cities. "Magnify," ordered Ze. The view screens showed something unexpected. In cities across Earth's surface, large areas were lighting up with energy signatures. Not weapons, but something else. Something massive. "What am I seeing?" Ze demanded. His science officer looked confused. It appears to be transport energy, Admiral. Millions of simultaneous transports. Before Zex could respond, a junior officer called out, "Admiral, we're detecting thousands of ships launching from Earth's surface and from hidden bases on their moon." The view screens filled with images of vessels rising from Earth. Not military ships, but civilian transports. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands, each filled with humans. "Sir," reported the communications officer, "we're receiving automated messages from the Earth vessels. They all say the same thing. Farewell." Zex watched in disbelief as the human ships formed into organized groups and began accelerating away from Earth. Not toward the Council fleet in defiance, but away from their home planet entirely, heading in multiple directions out of the solar system. "Are they leaving?" asked his second-in-command. Zex had no answer. In 8,000 years of Council history, no species had ever responded to military threat by simply departing their homeworld en masse. "Intercept them," he finally ordered, breaking from his shock. The Council fleet moved to block the exodus, but the human ships were faster than expected. They seemed to shimmer for a moment before accelerating to speeds the Council vessels couldn't match. "Impossible," whispered the science officer. "They're using some form of drive technology we've never seen before." On the inevitable dominances bridge, alarm suddenly blared. "Admiral," shouted the security chief, "our command codes are being overwritten. Someone is accessing our secure systems." Similar reports flooded in from across the fleet. Critical systems were compromised. Ship commanders couldn't coordinate. The carefully orchestrated military operation was falling into chaos. "How?" demanded Zex. "How are they doing this?" No one had an answer. Professor Alan Blackwell's work had borne fruit. The encryption keys the Council had used for centuries were now compromised. As the Council fleet struggled to regain control, Zex ordered a detachment to continue to Earth. If they couldn't stop the exodus, they would at least secure the abandoned planet. The ships that reached Earth's orbit found cities intact but eerily empty. Automated systems still functioned, lights still burned, but the humans were gone. Nearly all of them. In a hidden base beneath the lunar surface, Dr. Elaine Murphy watched the Council ships through powerful telescopes. Beside her, a small team of volunteers had remained behind to observe what would happen next. "They look confused," noted one technician. "Wouldn't you be?" Dr. Murphy replied. "They expected either a fight or surrender. We gave them neither." One of the Council ships located a strange object in Earth orbit, a simple message buoy. When they retrieved it, they found it contained a quantum-encrypted message addressed to those species who wished to join us. The encryption could only be broken by technology the Council didn't control. Within hours, the most shocking development occurred. 3 member species of the Council, the Novans, the Tyrellians, and the Whisper Collective, announced their immediate withdrawal from Council authority. Their ships began departing from Council space, following the same paths the human vessels had taken. In the Council chamber, panic erupted. "This is rebellion!" shouted the reptilian elder. "We must stop them by force!" Councillor Drez looked shaken. "With what forces? Admiral Zex reports that our fleet is compromised. We cannot coordinate a military response." Reports flooded in from across Council space. More junior species were showing signs of restlessness. The careful hierarchy that had been maintained for millennia was crumbling in a matter of days. On the inevitable dominance, Grand Admiral Zex received new orders. Return to Council space immediately to help contain the spreading descent. As his ship prepared to depart Earth orbit, Zex stared at the blue planet below. "I don't understand," he said quietly. "Why would they abandon their homeworld rather than defend it?" His question would soon be answered. As the Council fleet departed, they detected a small transmission from the lunar surface. It was a simple video message from Dr. Murphy. "This isn't about winning a war," she explained calmly. "It's about choosing freedom over subjugation. Earth isn't abandoned. Earth is waiting for the day when those who value true cooperation return." She smiled before adding, "We walked away not because we were defeated, but because we found a better path forward. One day you'll understand what you've lost today." The message ended, leaving Zex with a feeling he hadn't experienced in centuries of military service. Doubt. As the Council fleet limped back toward Council space, they passed more ships heading in the opposite direction, vessels from species that had quietly chafed under Council rule for generations, now finally seeing a chance for something different. On one of the thousands of human transports speeding away from the solar system, Gregory Winters looked at a star chart showing the routes their ships were taking. Phase 1 complete, he said to his team. Now we build something better. Behind them, Earth grew smaller in the viewport, not abandoned, but transformed from a homeworld into a symbol of the day humanity chose to walk away rather than kneel, and, in that choice, they had changed the galaxy forever. 3 years had passed since humanity walked away from Earth. 3 years that had changed the galaxy more than the previous 1,000. The once mighty Galactic Council chamber was half empty now. Where 32 species once gathered, only 20 remained. The others had left, following the paths humanity had blazed across the stars. Councillor Drez, looking older than ever, faced the diminished assembly. Order, he called, but his voice lacked its former authority. We must address the situation beyond our borders. The situation was something no council elder had imagined possible. Reports from the edge of council space told of a new interstellar alliance forming, one that called itself the Stellar Cooperative. Already, 17 species had formally joined, with others negotiating entry. The humans have infected other species with their dangerous ideas, the reptilian elder complained. Equality, shared advancement, resource distribution by need rather than status. These concepts threaten the natural order. Few representatives nodded in agreement. Many looked down, avoiding eye contact. The council's grip on its remaining members was weakening by the day. Far beyond council territory, Captain Jason Miller guided his exploration ship through uncharted space. Unlike the council's approach of claiming and controlling, human vessels sought contact and exchange. Sensor contact, reported his navigation officer. Definitely artificial, some kind of station or outpost. Jason studied the readings. Transmit. The standard greeting package. All languages, all frequencies. The response came quickly. A species calling themselves the Lumari. They had been avoiding contact with spacefaring civilizations for centuries, ever since an early encounter with Council explorers. We observed how they treated those they considered lesser, explained the Lumari representative when contact was established. We chose isolation rather than submission. Jason smiled. We made a different choice. We'd be honored to introduce you to the Cooperative, if you're interested. On a verdant world that humans had named Haven, Ambassador Gregory Winters sat at a circular table alongside representatives from 17 species. Before them lay the final draft of the Cooperative Charter. The fundamental principle is simple, Gregory explained to a newly arrived Tyrellian delegation. All members have equal voice. Advancement is shared, not controlled. Resources are exchanged. Fairly, not extracted. The Tyrellian diplomat, still adjusting to speaking without fear of punishment, asked, "And military matters? Who commands defense forces?" No one species commands, Gregory explained. Defense is coordinated through elected councils with rotating leadership. Power is distributed, never concentrated. It was a radical departure from the council model, where founding species had controlled everything for millennia. Already, the results were visible. Species that had been stagnant under council rule were innovating again. Technological advancement that had been carefully throttled was accelerating. Dr. Olivia Santos now led a multi-species medical research team. With information flowing freely between civilizations, breakthroughs came quickly. We've synthesized the treatment, she announced to her diverse team. The Novan breathing disease can be cured with a compound derived from Tyrellian fungi and human antibodies. Under council rule, such cooperation would have been impossible. Medical knowledge was shared only in exchange for resources or political concessions. Now it flowed freely between worlds. Professor Alan Blackwell had expanded, His work to communications technology, working alongside engineers from the Whisper Collective, he had developed a faster-than-light communication network that connected cooperative worlds. The quantum entanglement principle was sitting there in all our research, he explained during a demonstration. We just needed to combine our different perspectives to see it. On Earth, life was returning. Dr. Elaine Murphy, now leading the recolonization effort, welcomed ships bringing representatives from dozens of species eager to visit humanity's homeworld. We never abandoned Earth, she told visitors. We transformed its purpose from a vulnerable homeworld to be defended at all costs to a symbol of what cooperation can achieve. Earth cities were coming alive again, but differently than before. Humans returned in smaller numbers, joined by members of other species who came to learn, teach, and build together. Council spies who managed to infiltrate cooperative space sent back disturbing reports. Human innovation had not slowed after leaving their world. It had accelerated. And now, combined with the knowledge of other freed species, it was creating a civilization that might soon surpass the Council technologically. More troubling to the Council elders were reports that life in the cooperative was different. Citizens did not bow to their leaders. Resources were abundant rather than tightly controlled. Information flowed freely rather than being guarded as leverage. In Council space, more species were quietly preparing to leave. The Council's military, still compromised by human cryptography breaches, could not stop them. The greatest shock came when Grand Admiral Ze himself disappeared with his flagship. For weeks, nothing was heard. Then he reappeared, requesting asylum in cooperative space. When he arrived at Haven, the Admiral was no longer wearing his ceremonial armor. He came as a refugee, not a conqueror. Lieutenant Commander Frank Walters, now coordinating cooperative defense, met the former Admiral at the spaceport. Why? Frank asked simply. After 8,000 years serving the Council, why leave now? Zex looked around at the busy spaceport, where beings from a dozen worlds worked side by side without hierarchy or fear. We thought order required control, the former Admiral explained. We thought civilization needed masters and servants, but look at what you've built in just 3 years. He gestured to the city beyond, where new architecture blended styles from multiple worlds. No species ruled by fear could create this. No civilization built on extraction could advance so quickly. Frank nodded. It turns out cooperation is more powerful than control. We never understood what freedom meant to your kind, Zex admitted. That's why you walked away, and why we were truly the ones who were lost. On Earth, Gregory Winters stood in what had once been New York City. The rebuilt skyline now included structures designed for beings from many worlds. Schools taught knowledge from across the galaxy. Hospitals offered treatments developed through shared research. A young girl approached him, part of a school tour learning about the Exodus, as people now called humanity's departure. Were you afraid? She asked. When you decided to leave Earth? Gregory smiled. Of course, but sometimes the greatest adventure begins when you walk away from the path others made for you. Above them, ships from dozens of worlds moved through Earth's skies, not as conquerors or controllers, but as equals and allies. The cooperative was growing faster than anyone had predicted. In the old council chamber, Councillor Drez finally accepted what had been obvious for months. The age of the council is ending, he told the few remaining elders. The humans didn't defeat us with weapons. They defeated us with a better idea. And across the galaxy, on worlds that had never known anything but hierarchy and control, beings looked up at the night sky and whispered a word that was spreading like wildfire. Freedom.